Right, so apparently right now, I say that word, I think apparently might be the word. So let me see. Just checking and make sure that we all look beautiful. Let's go into, just going to go into this one and check the YouTubes. But I think we're live. No viewers yet, but that's okay. Welcome to the show. We're just getting all this. Okay.
Good evening, everyone.
Yes. Good evening.
Am I on this?
Yes.
I don't think my mic's on.
Oh, wait.
Testing.
Is it?
Testing.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
Testing. 1, 2.
I don't hear you either.
Oh, I hear it. So let's see.
I don't hear you either. No. My headphones.
USB-C. Plugged in.
I think I see your mic's on, actually.
I see what you're doing here, Jones.
What's
that? Just trying to take over.
Only you.
The one
Only you on the mic.
Oh, no. This is a legit. Let's see what's going on. This is 2 viewers as we try and get the audio going. Let me see. All 4 of us.
Check. Not on there.
Let me see.
No.
I think I'm being picked up from Jones.
Yeah,
Microphone
you're all
over
right.
there.
That's all right. This is live.
Yeah, we're live.
Hey everyone.
All right. So as we sort this out, something's going on. Let me just quit out of YouTube there and check the mics. Power. And that one goes in there. Let's see. That you should be on. Let me see what's going on here. Testing. 1, 2, 3. Recorder.
No.
You guys are not making this better.
No.
Let me switch that off.
All right.
See it.
Put it right in the middle.
Let's see. All right. So that's that. What's going on then, guys? Did I?
Well, something else just went off for a second.
Yeah.
That was yours.
Are you on? There?
No.
No.
That was off. Yeah, the second one was you, I think.
I'm on testing. On, off, mute.
Let's see, you had more time.
Great. What's going on here? Are you kidding me? All right. Let's have a look. So the audio's coming in. All right. Let's I think what I'll do is I'll swing this mic over to you. I'll run through making sure that because this is all everything was working last time. All I've done was turn it off. So what I'm going to do is pass this on. Let me see. It's not this, is it? It's showing up. Do it again.
Oh, there it is.
Hello. Yeah, I'm on.
I know what the issue was. All right. But you know what? I've learned from my lessons. I'm not going to tell them what it is.
Are you on, Alima? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we're cooking with gas now.
That's it.
And
Gratitude.
we're
I'm
all
sorry.
here.
I've only been
Yeah.
doing this for over 20 years. There we go.
Well,
All
we're
right.
grateful for that and a gratitude.
How about that?
Beautiful
Maybe it
segue.
was a show setup.
No.
Say we let everyone wait a little bit, build the anticipation for the episode. They're like, oh, what's happening at home? All right, well, welcome, everyone.
Yes.
We appreciate it.
Yeah, welcome.
I got a text here saying all good, so we're good.
Oh,
Everything's going well for the viewing audience out there. All right, so
cold sweat.
yeah, we're good. So this is kind of like almost like a Thanksgiving-ish episode, right? We kind of took on.
It really is.
We took on an S.E.L.
I'll be the turkey.
Oh,
All right. We took on an S.E.L. topic that is fairly common, just the idea of gratitude. So that's what we use as our topic for the week. We put up a poll with gratitude as the theme. We had questions including life is good, and then they agreed or disagreed. Which statement below identifies you? Either I am more often truly grateful for the good things in my life, or I more often take the good things in my life for granted. We had I express thanks and appreciation to those who help me in life. And then they said always, usually, sometimes, rarely, never. And we also had a question of the most important things in my life are, and select 3. We had family, friends, money, grades, my culture, my health, my religion, material things, social media, sports, the arts, which is music, dance, drawing, etc., film, television, and video games. And we had an open-ended question that was what state of time that you that someone showed gratefulness to you or something.
And
like
how
that.
did it make you feel?
Yeah, and how did he make you feel? Yeah. So when a time when someone that you showed, someone showed you gratitude, and how did you feel about it?
Yeah.
I think was it. So we wound up getting quite a few written responses on that, which we will share also today. But maybe we just start kind of with the generic. I know we talked about this earlier in the week, but like, what are we thankful for? Being that we have this platform and we have a week now until Thanksgiving. Alima, what are you thankful for?
Yeah, I have to begin by saying, like, when people talk about gratitude, though, I think that's that whole idea of like just being like grateful for like one thing, and thinking that it's always like this inward thing, when really it's like all the forces around you and things that you can. I feel so loud right now.
Yeah, she got louder.
Yeah,
as did I.
As sorry, as she should be. Go on, and I'll adjust.
But just knowing on a deeper level that like some of the things that you're grateful for, you have no control over, and they're just things that happen in your life. I mean, in my family right now, with my husband and my son being sick and things going on, I'm grateful for my friends and family that have been able to help out, and people that have been looking out for me and checking in on me as things are happening. And even though sometimes things may not be so great in the workplace or things catch up to you, just grateful to have a place that you work where you can empower other people and make change. So I'm really grateful for that right now.
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah.
Daniel?
Gratitude. I would say family and friends, opportunities. Knowing that my dad used to always say there are better men than us that are doing, have fewer opportunities, and that always kind of stuck with me. It really didn't, especially with this this thing we've been going through for the last 2 years. I know people that still can't work, can't work, and it does shine a light on the opportunities that you do get, and you say to yourself, well, gee, I mean, I sometimes don't show that gratitude. I'm fully aware of that, and I think it's easier to understand gratitude when something is missing. When something in your life goes away, that's the wake up call for, wow, I should have been grateful for that when I had it. So I think about that a lot.
That is a good point about when you lose something, you kind of appreciate what it was. Andrew, what do you got?
Ready? It all started for me when I was shall I do a repeat of the show today, or was that yesterday? Time
yesterday.
is just going by so fast. Look, years ago I had the same with you, the ditto, along with the remarks that you've made, all of you, but just the very fact that I'm sitting in my studio, yeah, I built it. Yeah, there was a lot of sacrifice. Not really, I'm just very, very fortunate, very lucky. I got 3 incredible individuals that are all sat around with me, and we're doing this thing, right? And we're building something. I think really just seeing the fruition of all of the efforts from all of the years that really, when I didn't know, I knew something was being made, I just didn't know what it was. And it's still early days, but to go back into the YouTube, and see, well, we've done a few episodes now, and the viewership's picking up, and and more than that, the effect is starting to have, like, kids flock into my room. And they're like, this is such a cool class, and you're such a, like, silly stuff, and it puffs your ego a little bit, but they're kind of saying it for the right reasons. It's not because I'm giving them candy or I'm bribing them or oh, I'll be your butt. It's just we're just doing our job, and they're loving it. So really, I mean, even for the last years, several years, people always used to say, why are you so positive? remember a UPS guy years ago visited me, and he said, "How you doing, mate?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm doing okay. Just going through my second divorce, and I'm about to lose the house, and I think I'm going to live in my van for a while, of my own choosing. And but on the bright side, no." And he's like, "I've never met anyone so positive, but I've always kind of seen the silver lining." And there's a private joke there between us. I was going to talk about crypto then for a second. every episode.
It's not good this week. Don't look at it. Yeah, but yeah, that's what. Don't come to me next. I'm like, that's
And we're here.
Yeah.
So I think you all bring up great points, and it's kind of like what I think of is almost like a blending of all of those, which starts with my health. I've the last month, almost about a month, I've been kind of battling various ailments, non-COVID related, but went from like a throat thing to where I had like no voice and my throat was killing me to my head was killing me. Then in the last about 2 weeks, I've had cluster headaches, like migraines, and I've been trying to battle that and just kind of staying on top of that. And then today was actually the first day where I didn't have to take any kind of medication for it. Literally the first day in over 2 weeks for that. And I was like, I felt like really good this morning coming in, and I don't have any medication on me now. So if I get one today, it's going to be like, I'm going to be like Jordan getting through the flu game. I'm gonna be like, yeah. So next point, I'm going to hold my head. It's just going to kill me, but hopefully I can get through the hour.
Over to you, Dan.
Literally, I'll be standing like this. I'll probably be rocking too because it hurts so bad. So it just, I think health is one of those things where we do take it for granted. It is one of those things that when you don't have it is when you want it. And I really started thinking about how, even though mine was physical, how that could be if it was a mental or an emotional health issue, and how, even though you don't see it, how much that could be weighing on somebody on a constant level.
Yeah.
That's really what we're here for.
Yeah.
And really what Mellow is about is trying to help people who have those issues that feel like so bogged down and burdened and just no escape. Because I think of it like when I get those headaches, it consumes me. I'm completely useless to the world. And and that makes it worse because I feel so bad for my wife, who now has to like manage the 3 kids and she's picking up slack there. And I appreciate the hell out of it. Thank you. But it's one of those things where it's just like, if that's a mental thing where you can't see it, right? And then you're going, well, what's the medication for this? Or if it's an emotional thing and you're like, and someone's telling you, oh, get over it.
Yeah.
And then they're going, man, I don't want to feel this way, but I do feel this way. How do you get through that? And again, we often think about health and we think about physical, but we're here trying to talk about the other sides that people don't see and kind of break those stigmas and allow people the chance and opportunity to voice some of their feelings and things like that. And I do think that surrounding yourself with the right people,
Absolutely.
like your friends and kind of being able to, because I think so much of our lives as we get older, especially, we start to get more independent. And with that, we could become more reclusive in a way to be like, I can take care of this myself because I don't want to be a burden to so-and-so. Right.
Yeah.
And you might feel like that's something like, oh, I don't want to bring this to work, or I don't want to have to ask these people to help me, or I don't want to let anybody down. But we have to feel free to be able to say, look, I need a little help today, or I need to, you got to bear with me on this and let me get through it, whatever it is.
Yeah.
That's something our kids struggle with a lot. They don't know how to turn it off, and they're so used to be functioning at a specific level that even when their mental health is actually hindering them, they feel as though they still have to function at that level because that's what other people expect. They expect other people expect them to have a smile on their face, and it's really hard for them even to find like things that they can be grateful for in those moments because it's tough mentally.
Yeah. I think for a lot of students, just going end to end, shifting gears all the time, period to period, and maybe having different feelings about different subjects and different instructors, can probably really wear down on you. I have an office job now, and I feel like I have a little bit more control of whom I interact with. Whereas if you're a student and you have what is it? I guess 6 different periods and maybe 6 different instructors. You've got to be able to kind of keep that light on, regardless of the atmosphere, regardless of the instructor, regardless of the people around you, and it's just constantly changing. And when we start the day, it's just on. It's just on. You're on until what, 256.
Yeah.
It's also for teachers too, right?
Yeah.
Like you could have a 3 classes in a row, and the first class could do something that really sets you off, and you're just like, man, I got 2 more of these without a break, without seeing another like adult, or being able to vent this, and having the wherewithal to say, I don't want to carry this to my next class 'cause it's not their fault, but like,
Right.
am I gonna come out? Am I gonna be able to put on a happy face for the next class and kind of hit the reset button, or is this gonna be something that's gonna be lingering until I get, some kind of relief, in a
Yeah.
way.
Every year the count of I almost said that the count of students with special needs seems to rise, but this year I'm mindful of the fact that we have a number of students that have special requirements and need to spend a little bit more time explaining things and what have you, and I have one student and always overthinking, over worrying, and it's hard sometimes. Just you're going about your business and you react. So for today, I was like, oh, don't overthink it, and just do this. And then it hit me. I'm like, well, that is easy to say, right? So I tell the individual that it's easy for someone like someone else to say, don't overthink it, just do it. It's tough just to be mindful of the time for someone like that who does overthink and does worry and stress and like do I need to this needs to be it's okay, just relax, it's all going to get done. Yeah, but you don't understand. I'm just trying to. I'm like, it's okay. And you just it sometimes hits me that I'm not always as mindful for someone like that is really stressing out all the time and might not be having a very thankful moment, or grateful that, how much is just, I feel bad at that point because then it's just, I would just want to make it all better, but you can't necessarily for every student, right?
Right, and it's a lot more difficult to be grateful. It's easy to say, right? When you have stuff, when you have stuff, it's easy to say, no, I should be grateful for all the stuff I have. And I have a pretty good job, and I'm making pretty good money, and I have friends and family, and I have opportunities like this. I should be grateful. But what about the students that are reflecting on all the things that they don't have because they're surrounded by people who do have things, or who do get through things like assignments, almost, carefree. They've got it easy. They're never stressing.
Yeah.
But now you're asking me to be grateful. I mean, you're asking that student.
This is a major reason why school uniform actually is important, because for a good degree, apart from sneakers and what have you, it kind of puts us for the most part on the same playing on the level playing field. Obviously there's sneakers and jewelry that they might wear as long as they don't come in looking like Mr. T, like ropes. But no, I think that's one of the good things of the school uniform, and I think oftentimes that students are like, why are we got to wear this anyway? Well, it's good to follow rules. If you can follow a few rules here, think about how long you can keep a job out there just because you've been taught how to follow rules. But more and more society is kind of leaning away from that and leaning into remote working, doing what you want when you want type of thing. And there's a lot of society rebelling right now. I don't know if society in general is grateful or not grateful. We've got mass people en masse quitting their jobs.
I would say they're less grateful.
Yeah.
Everyone's complaining about everything, it seems, and nobody seems to be satisfied with what's going on or the route of the country or the rules that are dictated in the workplace or whatever. It just always seems like people are just constantly at odds. But let's go into some of these points here. Now, the life is good was kind of like just to get them thinking in terms of like, are they going to be positive or negative, just overall attitude and approach towards life. So 17% said strongly agree, 33%, close to 34% said agree. So that's 50% roughly right there. Neutral, which is kind of odd, 32%, kind of like in that middle. And then about probably 16 or so percent are between strongly disagree and disagree. So there's some cynicism obviously there. What's
Yeah.
that?
Sorry,
I didn't say anything.
No, I guess this might be this. I think this is
sounded
this.
like it.
I think this is
Yeah, I
playing.
did hear it.
Oh, look, this is all right.
All
What
right.
the hell?
It
It
wasn't me. You're looking at me. I'm like,
I thought you risked for something.
No, it was. It's actually I had audio playing in the background.
All right, cool.
Anyway, so
Anyway, then the which statement best identifies you? Let's jump down to that one. I am often more truly more grateful for things in my life, versus I often take them for granted. There were 22% roughly who agreed that said I more often take the good things in my life for granted. Any thoughts on that? Is that surprising? Is that something that's expected? I mean, I would probably think that honestly it might be even higher.
that people
real
take things
number.
for granted.
Yeah.
I think that it's like, but again, in that reflective moment as they think about it,
Mhm.
you
They're
know,
probably like, "Oh, check."
they're probably like, oh yeah, that's right. I you know, and I think that a lot of parents right now, like when I talk to my kids, they're like, you know, my parents call me out all the time about not being grateful for
Yeah.
the things that they do for me or the things that they give to me.
Mm-hmm.
And in that moment when they're talking to me, I'm like, okay, well, and they're like, yeah, maybe I'm not, but you
Yeah.
know, the but part. So
Yeah. I think this probably did force people to
Yeah.
think, and then they go, okay, I thought about it. I'm thankful for it.
Well, the other thing too is I know that I always try to paint myself in a positive light, especially when somebody asks me, "Well, yeah, are you a grateful person?" Yeah, I am, but do I act grateful all the time? Probably not.
I don't think that's a necessity, though, is it? I mean, that's a good point. I mean, do you need to act grateful? I mean, life carries on, right? Even though
Yeah.
there's things to be grateful for, I think we still got to pump gas and pick up the mess our cats and dogs have left.
We don't have to pump gas in this state.
I've been driving too far to get gas.
The only state, right? I think New Jersey's the only state that you don't. That you
I think
don't
so.
have- I think
Is
it
that an
is the only
insurance
one.
thing? Yeah.
I think it is. I don't even think
Yeah.
they want you to. in this
Yeah,
state.
no.
Good for that. The next question was: I express thanks and appreciation to those who help me in life. Always was nearly 50%. Usually was 35%.
Dan's face.
Wow.
Sometimes was
I'm a bad person.
14%, and then like rarely and never were like tiny slivers on there of almost not even registering. So I think that is
That
not
seems
true.
skewed. Yeah, that's
Always, I think that's
Always?
people really being generous
Yeah.
to themselves about, yeah, I'm always grateful, because I know as a teacher, I think in the schools, there are not a lot of grateful students.
I think wouldn't it be interesting to do a poll and then a month later give them a pre-talk and say, look, here's what I want you to think about, and really break it down, because when we talk about it, that's when it kind of exposes, yeah, but are you really, and then have them do the poll again to see poll.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, I'm British.
Really?
Just to see whether the numbers would change. I think they would, if you wake them up to the possibility that you need to wake up on some of the way I think they're answering. And I go back to a previous podcast when I said I think a lot of the students are responding the way that they would like to, or they hope that they would.
Yeah.
And maybe they're not going
Their perfect
too
self.
deep. Yeah.
It's funny because even if you just did something as simple as like hold the door open for a bunch of kids, right? And just like almost count how many kids actually
Right.
say thank you versus just walk past you or just like even nudge you on the way by. It'd be funny to see that
Yeah.
that number would
Yeah.
be. I mean,
But it's also that the type of thing that can
get
be
me started.
primed. And what I mean by that is you and I both have proctored SAT and ACT. I find that when I hand things out, once the first one or two people break the ice by
yep,
saying thank you,
Yeah.
then everybody says thank you.
Especially if
after
it's
that.
audible enough for that area, they'll
Right.
all say it.
But there are other times where I've had an entire class where nobody says thank you, and I think that nobody primed the pump. Almost
Yeah,
nobody
that's
said,
it. It's
hey.
funny that how it works. Yeah.
It's one of my biggest gripes about education so far is just the students that come into the class, especially with a mask, and they just walk by you and I'm like, good morning, good morning, good morning. I might say it like 22 times
Yeah.
and I'm like
Yeah.
and yeah, that's a big one for me. But and then some days I'm not going to say good morning today. Then I feel bad because I get a couple back. I'm like, damn it.
But could you break that? I mean, if you were to give a little speech and say, my name is Mr. Jones, and I say good morning to people, and I expect a good morning back. I'm not going to get mad, but could you break an entire class of that and then get them to say good morning every morning?
I've said,
But
look,
not under duress.
I said, look, if I was your employer,
Right.
if you were to come in each morning and not say anything to me, or you would just mumble grumble, I know that I actually have an employee that doesn't want to be here.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can get one that does want to be here.
Yeah.
You know, so it's just those little things, and just, you know, it's just good practice. It's good manners. It's a part of S.E.L, just learning how to treat others. Another little handy tip. Not sure what number it was. Stay tuned. Plenty more coming. So yeah, it's
the awareness,
tried
though,
it,
right?
yeah,
Like we talked
absolutely.
about last week. It's the idea of saying, like, you're acknowledging someone.
Yeah.
Hello, how are you? You know, and I say it, especially to people in the hallways when it's not in the middle of chaos, right? When I just walk by kids in the morning, I'll just be like, hey, good morning. And they won't even be looking at me. There's a lot of that, like, I'm going to be in my own world, acting like no one else is in the hallway. But I'll just look over and I'll just say good morning. And they're like almost caught off guard. They don't even turn their head because they know they saw me, but they didn't want to look at me.
Yeah.
And they're just going to walk forward. And I'm like, good morning. They're like, good morning. Because they have it ready to go.
Yeah.
But they're not going to be the first one to say it. And they're also not going to look at me. But it's like every single day it happens. And to a lot of different people. And it's just funny because I'll just say it. And they'll always say it back. But it's almost like they weren't going to say it first. They just are hell-bent on not saying it.
Just for fun, would you ever consider stopping somebody and saying, look, all right, take this the right way. I say good morning to you every morning. Is that wrong?
It's my turn. You say it first.
Yeah.
No, but I do the same thing. But I find that if it's the same people, the same kids, if I'm going the same way, like now they started to do it. So it's almost like that conditioning.
Yeah,
of
you
doing
kind of
like,
broke them.
oh, I'm used to seeing you, and I know that you're going to say it, so it's okay to say it. So I mean, it's nice to see. And one of the things that I saw today that I was very happy for our kids, like one of the cafeteria workers, she was carrying like a bag of something and a couple of coffees, and she dropped the coffees, and all the kids that were coming up on the steps behind her, I was like at the bottom of the stairwell, and you could hear them, I got that one, miss, I got this one, miss, and it was just like such a powerful thing that they were all like there ready and jumping on it, where you know that there are some kids who may have walked by, you know. So
right.
just a positive on our kids, and you know, something
that's funny
I'm grateful.
because it is one of those things, as Dan was saying, about how once that first kid stops, that's all it really takes, right? Because then you're gonna feel like the ass if you don't stop. Because you're like, oh, I'm gonna step over it, right? You know, because I've had a situation where there was a sub walking down the hallway not too long ago, probably about last week, and she spilled her coffee all over the place, right outside where Borman's office is, right? So like it's right in that area, and a high traffic area, and I was walking out going towards the class, and I'm like, I'll help you, and I was grabbing a bunch of paper towels, and I was putting on the floor. I'm telling kids, watch out, there's a spill here, be careful. Not one kid stopped. Everyone they're like walking right through it. And I'm like, just be careful. I'm like, just be careful. Don't stop anyone. Just step right into it. Just knock me over.
Yeah.
I'm like running back and forth. And she was very thankful. Like I was doing to help the sub because I was like, this is a terrible situation. And I was like, I'll be a couple minutes late to class. I don't care. But you know, it was one of those things where, you know, you just want to do the right thing. Yeah. But you just kind of, it's who's going to be the first kid? Like, you know what I mean? That's always life, right? Like the first one is the one, you know what I mean? And you want to be the first one, and you should be proactive in that. And I'm actually going to get into that when I do transcendentalism. Actually, by the time we have our next episode, I'm going to have that transcendentalism project going. So I'm going to talk about that quite a bit, with the idea of like awareness and gratitude's a part of that, and you know, kind of like how it can affect your mood and be more positive. Another one of the questions on here is the most important things in my life are. The number one thing was family, because they were selecting 3. Family was hitting at 92%. Friends were at 68%. That was the second highest. Health was third, which is good, 55%. Then it goes down to grades is the next highest on the list at 40%. Which I'm not super surprised at. And then it goes to culture at 19. And what's funny is because I always think about this as I teach, like, you know, American literature mostly, about how like you go back 50 years and it was probably like what, like God, family. It
Mhm.
was like
Yeah.
that was like always in the top three, right?
Mhm.
Those were top two.
Country.
Yeah, in country,
Yeah.
right? It was like that
Yeah,
was like the
yeah,
three, right?
yeah.
And it's just funny that, religion on here is at 15%.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm not surprised at that,
Mm-hmm.
but you almost wonder how much is that to do with people's moods and things as well, right? Like, and how people cope with things if they don't have really a
Yeah.
cultural connection or a religious connection, right? To kind of give them that sense of things are going to be okay, or everything happens for a reason, or some kind of buy into a spiritual.
I've heard more.
World.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard more and more that the young adults, the teenagers of today, are kind of pulling away a little bit from organized religion. So it's kind of interesting to see, and yeah, it's not surprising some of the results, but the greatest, what do they call it, the greatest generation, what was that, like World War
Yeah,
II?
World War II. Yeah.
The great generation.
The
right?
great, was it the great or the greatest? I thought it was the greatest.
I think it's been labeled the greatest. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that was the name of the book. I'm trying to think of the author.
But back then it was very much about patriotism
Yeah.
in the country and old world values or old fashioned values.
Yeah.
Definitely religion was right up there. And what have you. So,
Well, I think a lot of the cohesion is
Mm-hmm.
probably more accessible for people when you have a common foe.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you realize nothing brings people together closer, I think, than a common foe.
except
Yes.
this time around, it's tore the world apart. The pandemic. That's our foe,
Yeah.
and this time around, it's almost like it needs to be another individual country or what have you for us, or not even. I think the best time I've ever seen us all band together is natural disasters. Right, anytime there's a natural disaster, we're right there to help, and
9/11 was our peak, though.
Yeah.
In our, probably in my lifetime, because
Yeah.
that was like, I think the approval rating of the president at the time was like the highest it's ever. It was like 90% or something.
yeah,
like that.
New York, was it mayor of New York or what was it? The
Yeah,
governor of
Giuliani in New York. Yeah, it was just everything was everybody was waving the flag, right? It was just like America, right, at that point. And I think now you look at that some 20 years later, and it's like we're back almost to like what it was like before the Civil War.
And how many more times, multiple, are the victims of the pandemic in any which way you want to look at it, right? There's so many different political views and biases towards all of this thing. But overall, those that have been affected, absolutely crazy. The how much more has been affected from this, yet we're all divided.
Well, it lends itself to the question that are people grateful that we've made some headway? We've been making headway, right? Things are better than they were a year and a half ago. Would you say that things are better than they were?
Things are getting sorted out. I think what happens is we go too far this way, and I've said this before, and we go all the way back the other way, then
pendulum
all the way,
swings,
and we kind of find some sort of not great, but great. I was saying to the students the other day in my sophomore class, I said, look how far we have come with the like LGBTQ plus communities, and you're making people think, you're making people, it took decades,
And it's still not where it's supposed to be.
Right.
though.
still not where it's meant to be, but look how much it's changing. And that's why I think there's a lot of headaches all around, because it's changing fast and people's heads are spinning like, wait, what's going on now?
Right.
And
But isn't
know,
that the gratitude aspect of it for us?
Absolutely.
Like the appreciation and the acceptance of it. Like
Yeah.
the appreciation of how far that we've come, and the
Yeah.
acceptance that like we need to take these steps forward so that we can move and we can make this change, and it can be better for everyone at
That's it.
some point.
Absolutely.
Like that's the gratitude aspect.
yeah.
I think just the overall concept, like, what do we think just about, all right, so I think of this as an example a lot when I think about gratitude, right? Like, and we probably all have experienced this. You're coming down a street that has cars parked on both sides, right? There's only enough for one car to go through, right? And another car is on its way.
Right.
And we do the nice thing, we pull to the side. We wave them on throw.
I got a Camaro, so I'm just foot down, go for the gap.
Yeah.
So every time I do that, I just say to myself, this person better wave or
The
nod.
same way.
And if they don't,
Yeah.
there's going to be 2 words coming out of my mouth.
Thank you.
Yeah, and it's not going to be thank you.
Well, one of them will.
It's going to rhyme with duck food, right? And it's going to be like, so, and it's one of those things where it's just like, it's a simple thing, right? Like I pulled over, come on. And it's just, they just go 10 and 2 right by. And I'm like, you mother, like, I'm like, just give me like, that's it. It's like, it's not that
Some
difficult.
type of acknowledgement.
But it's funny how when we talk about gratitude, oftentimes we think they have to be these massive, gestures, right? And like we have to do something, monetary even. Like I'm going to give you money, right? We always feel like if someone does something for us, we almost have to give them money. And there's that like inherent, like, what do you want for this? Like, I got you something. I got you a coffee. How much was it? Right? Like there's that inherent, like it's got to be tit for tat kind of thing. But it's just like the idea of allowing someone to do something nice for someone else, or someone to do something nice for you. And then you could be like, yeah, I'll get you back. Like, and it could be something so simple, like cover my class for a couple minutes. Thank you.
Yeah.
Like, but just that simple thank you. I think the idea of like, what is it? The golden rule, like please and thank you. That's what that is? Like that is such an important part of, I feel like, just life in general.
Yeah.
That I drill that with my kids. Like I'll walk into a room with like a snack before bed for them, and I'll hand it to them. They're watching TV, and if they don't say thank you, I take it back and I walk in 5 minutes later, and I'm like, we'll try it again.
I do that with my wife. She gets so upset.
Yeah, I can imagine. But it's just such a what do you say? Thank you. Like, and I don't even want to have to keep reminding it. Just like get it into your head. It's not that difficult, to show a sense of appreciation, because I know how far that can go. Yeah. Especially as it becomes more rare. I'm always the one that's like, I will fight to the ends of the earth for someone who shows me a sense of gratitude and acknowledgement that of what I'm doing is for their betterment. Yeah. And it's just that level of respect, say, good morning and have a good day, Mr. Ritchie, whatever. Like, it's not that difficult to do, but because it's so rare, those few kids really stand out, and you're like, you're awesome. Like whatever you need, I got you, like that kind of thing, because it's just, and it's so little though, but I really value that so much personally.
And you know what? I think a lot of employees really seek that in the workplace. I remember at a place I used to work at, they used to often say, we need to do the things that don't cost money. Yeah. We don't have money to throw around. There's only so much we can do as far as compensation, salaries, it's bonuses, etc. You've got to do what you can that doesn't cost money, and showing gratitude, being polite, having manners, that doesn't cost money.
But it's something that they have to make a habit of, and then thinking about the positive impact that it has on you, like you were talking about, it has a positive impact on your mood. If you're thinking about how it helps your mental, then it can also help your physical, like just the little things that you can do to positively affect yourself to also then affect your relationships, right? And that's all a part of SEL, like just this simple step in gratitude and doing the little things, and how it can better empower you and make you feel differently on a day-to-day basis.
It's not one of those I lose if you gain. It's a win-win. Like you said, it's like if I show gratitude, they feel good and I feel good for showing gratitude, and they're thankful. And it does, like I said, it doesn't have to be for anything. I know with my neighbors, I'm constantly out there, and like I said, most of them are older, so I'm trying to rake the leaves or doing different things. And they're always like, oh, let me get you something or whatever. The one lady today, she's like, I think she's turning 95 in a week, and she was telling me that she wants me to fix her grass every day. But I'm like, it's not growing anymore. Leave it alone.
You are going to get the nicest pair of mittens at Christmas.
Well, no, she's like, I'm going to have a nice penny for you. And I think she means like a pretty penny, but I think she really means a penny. Because I'm like, it's probably going to literally be a penny.
I have a really fun sophomore and senior class. My digital media class is a little bit tougher because I only have them for one period, and they're all learning new stuff all the time, so they're worried about their grades and what have you. But my seniors came in today, and one of them, Ken, he said, Mr. Jones, today is going to be a great day. He said, you know why? I said, why? He said, because I'm going to make it great. And he sat down, and I'm like, that was typical Ken, but I'm like, that was so good, and it just lifted me up so much.
Right.
And yeah, I'm grateful for those little moments each day. And there's lots of them.
Yeah.
But again, it's paying attention to the good and like savoring
Yeah.
those moments that
Mm-hmm.
may come fleeting. They may be
Right.
rare, but it's like to acknowledge that that's something good that happened in your day and to hold on and take that with you the rest of the day.
Yeah. Look, I mean, again, those little things that cost nothing is those little things that, for me, actually buys a little bit of credit. So those students that want to do those extra, do you mind if I run to the library real quick? You know, which he did. I'm like, go on then, you know, and he
Yeah.
goes off, comes back a little bit later than he should, but just such a good student and always picking up others and the group around
Right.
them and what have you. And one of them is always hounding me to be on the podcast. And not sure if you're watching, but if you are, thank you. 5 viewers right now. Feel free to use the chat on YouTube. I don't think Facebook's up and running right now. And then I also have the phone set up. So if someone does call, I can bring you in and be a part of the conversation.
Like before we kick off and we get to the next part that Dave's probably going to talk about, for those of you out there, we'd love to hear what you're grateful for. Some of the things that you think about, what we're kind of referencing, gratitude that you see in your life, the way that you display it. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, even a little short anecdotal thing about what, you know, a time where you showed gratitude or you experienced gratitude and kind of the effect it had on you, either for person giving or receiving that. Just as an example, I'll go read a couple of these responses from the students today. This one student writes, a time someone showed me gratitude was when my sister bought me flowers. I felt astonished because no one has ever bought me flowers for anything. I also cried a bit because of how heartwarming it was. I appreciated it a lot and thanked her over and over again. Another one says, after my big win 2 weeks ago against Montclair, my friend left me a cute note on my windshield saying how proud she was of me and how much she appreciates me. You know, these are things that, you know, when you ask a question to the kid, this is what's jumping to their mind. A note that probably took 10 seconds to do. What they're thinking of when you ask, I get like the goosebumps. Like, it's awesome to hear that, just that simple thing that, you know, when people start to go, oh, I don't have that kind of money, I don't have that kind of time, I don't have that, they think of, again, going back to that big gesture. It's not that. It's picking up the kid's pencil when they drop. It's little stuff that just says, like, you don't know what kind of impact that can have on anybody. Just to stop and chat to somebody that looks down and just be like, how's your day? To like a little freshman walking down the hall and like, hey, how you finding it so far this year? You all right? And especially if you're an upperclassman, that kid could be like, holy crap, you're talking to me.
Look, I mean, one of the things I'm sure we've all experienced as educators or counselors or just working in the school system with students is the occasional thank you letter that you get from an old student, you know, or a student that just graduated and that maybe never spoke up. You know, it's for me, it's those things that kind of keep me going back in for more.
100%.
Right? Yeah.
That's how I am. Yeah.
And you never know when people pop up. Funny story. My kid just had his first like school pictures. I'm like about to cry. Like that's how sentimental I am. And I go to the school today, and they're like bringing them out, and they're like, "Oh, funny thing about Leo with his pictures." I'm like, "Oh my goodness, what did he do? Did he like smear poop on the wall or something?"
Perfect.
And they're like, "No, the photographer said that he had you in creative writing, and he was just talking. So he saw the last name, and he was like, "Oh my God, is that Mrs. Putup? Like that works at PCTI?" She said he just said good things about you, about how you helped him in creative writing. It's just like, again, they may not tell you up front, but like just to have that impact and know that something, you know, something clicked. It's nice.
Yeah, that's the stuff that carries. And I tell the kids all the time, you know, a lot of times when they're thinking about careers, how much money they're going to make enters the fray, and they start going, well, I got to do this because it makes X amount and things like that. And I said, look, what are you going to hang your hat on at the end of the day? You know, is it going to be the salary? Is that going to get you going each day? Or is it going to be some type of internal feeling of, you know, gratitude you have towards what you're doing because you feel it makes an impact on your life? And I think that's in those, like you said, those notes, those references, the kids that come back and just say, even if it's something as like, oh, I used what you taught in this class and it went perfectly, or oh, I did a breakdown of a poem in college and the teacher said it was so good they wanted me to reach out to whoever taught me it. It's like that kind of little stuff that the student might not think it means anything.
Yeah.
But to you, it's like, oh my God. It's like, and again, I don't know. I think it would be good if we can all even share something that of where either we did something or we heard something that was like gratitude towards us, as an anecdotal thing. I'll go while you think, because I was thinking of it before.
Oh,
And
me.
it was something that like will always stick with. And it's funny because out of my entire life, 39 years, I can have these like flashbulb memories of certain points that really I have no business in remembering.
Yeah.
But they're always things typically that involve me doing something nice for somebody else, typically like strangers and things like that. So one was when I was in 6th grade, taking the bus home. There was a kid down the block who was sitting, and I just had moved to that area, and I was sitting towards the front of the bus, and all the rowdy kids are in the back. And we lived in like a development area, and this one kid lived on the block, and the kids were ragging on this one kid that was about to get off the bus. And I just like turned around, I said, just leave him alone. That's like literally all I said. I was like, guys, you just leave him alone. It's not that serious. And then he gets off the bus and goes on his way. And then I get off the next stop and I go home. And about like 20 minutes later, there's a phone call. And this is when you only have the landline. So, my mom answers, hello. And and she gives me the phone. She's like, here. And it was the kid's mom. And she just like thanked me for like, thank you for standing up for my son. That's so cool. He told me as soon as he got home. And I'm like, oh, it's no big deal. But I still remember that, like that 2-second interjection to those kids. I still remember that being like, and being proud of myself. Like always I could remember that moment and be like, that's who I am. I'm not a bad guy, whatever, you say to yourself, I did something for somebody else and I feel good about it. And again, he might not remember that. The mom might not remember that. Maybe she does, but like it's for me, it's something that I did to help someone else, but I've carried it with me as a moment that'll always make me feel good.
Yeah.
So even though I did something for someone else, it really truly benefited me in like a profound way.
Yeah.
And otherwise, if I just sat there, I don't have the memory, I don't have that moment that can make me feel good, and nothing is gained from that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know. It just
I think you're
things like
making
that.
a great point about the residual benefit that you got out of that. It was probably fairly temporary for the person you did it for,
Right.
but the ironic, to me, it's kind of ironic that the long-lasting effects of that gesture were really, and you didn't know it at the time, were, most important, most valuable to you.
Right.
We've actually talked about this. I want to get back to each of us expressing, but yeah, we've actually talked about this where there was actually a study, and that someone did a good deed for someone. They both got positive physical and mental benefits from doing so, but also the people that witnessed it being done also received the same measurement, positive measurement of benefits. So I completely, bastardize the study, but basically that's
I know. What you mean. I use that every year. That's part of my coincidentally project when I have them do acts of kindness.
What about you, Alima? What would you have?
I can't even think. I can't think.
Just put your hand in and grab one.
Yeah, I got nothing to pull out of the basket right now. I have nothing that sticks with me that's like that was a long time ago. Like I can barely remember what I did yesterday, but no, there's nothing that jumps out at me that's
We're
that.
putting you on the spot, and while you're thinking about it, I'm going to tell a story that I'm sure everyone in this room and our viewers are going to think I'm making this up, and that's fine. Maybe I am making it up, right?
He's making it.
Many, don't do this. Don't do this. Many years ago, one of my first jobs was at Kmart at Wayne Hills Mall. And I was supposed to take the bus there. I was supposed to walk down to the A&P, get the bus, and take that up to Wayne Hills Mall. I guess I was running late, and I missed the bus. I thought, oh, it's my first day at work, and I'm going to be late. So don't do this, people. Don't do this. This is back in the day when you could hitchhike, right? So I decided I'm going to hitchhike up to 16 years old. I'm going to hitchhike to work. So it's starting to rain, and I'm thinking, oh, geez, you know what? I'm going to get soaked. I'm going to have to walk the whole way. All of a sudden, a 67, I remember the car was a 67 Mustang Fastback. It was red, and pulled up, and guy let me in. He was a little bit older than me, maybe 2 or 3 years older than me. And he said, where you headed? I said, I'm going up to Wayne Hills Mall. I said, you know where that is? He said, yeah, I live right behind there. I said, well, it's my first day at work. I need this ride. You mind giving me a ride? So he did. He dropped me off at work. This is the part that sounds like a lie. Must have been about 10 years later. I'm driving down Valley Road, and it's raining, and I see a guy hitchhiking, and I pull over, and he says, oh, thanks a lot. He gets in the car, and I said, where are you headed? He said, I live right behind Wayne Hills Mall. I said, really? And I said, he said, yeah. I said, why are you hitchhiking? He said, my car broke down. It's an old car, and it doesn't run very well, and it broke down. And I said to him, is it a red 1967 Mustang Fastback? And he said, how did you know? And I said, you picked me up hitchhiking about 10 years ago. And
Incredible.
He said, was it your first day at work? I said,
Stop.
That
See,
is
that is
amazing.
true story.
That is amazing.
Don't hitchhike.
Don't hitchhike.
Let
Not
it dead.
anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
That's
I'm not
That is
making
really
up.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant.
But you never know that's you hear, and you can find these online too, but you hear chapter and verse these stories about people who helped somebody out in this little seemingly mundane way. It wasn't a big deal.
Yeah.
And winding up, really catching someone's attention, or really doing something that can profoundly change someone's life, or doing something really simple, and even just kind of making that gesture to somebody. And I make that a point of emphasis with the project that I do, to say, like, whenever you have that moment of, like, you think something could be done that's nice here,
Yeah.
but I want them to keep that in the front of their mind, so that they just do it instead of second guessing it. Maybe I'll just let the door close, or what. Just do. If it's a 50-50, just do it. Just go for that, and just see what happens. Watch how it affects your mood. And I think it's really valuable, because they do start to see things in that kind of way, where they're like, I didn't even realize how happy I was for just kind of helping other people, especially this time of year, right? You're talking about, the holidays, gift giving, and not having to think about, oh my God, this is going to be a burden. I have to spend X amount of dollars, in the next month. But more like, what can I do that's going to genuinely give somebody the feeling of, where I genuinely show them gratitude, where I do something that they would appreciate. And a lot of times that could just be simply like spending time with somebody, right?
Yeah.
And not even about, I bought you something that's $500. It's like, let's do something. Let's spend the afternoon together. Let's go somewhere together. Let's do something.
I had the most every year, and over the years, I've got the most incredible, those individuals that you'd never think in a million years that you reached, that they would reach out to you in any way to say thank you or ask your advice. And I'm always floored. And some people disappear. And we have a caller.
Do we really?
No.
Ah.
No.
I was gonna say.
So I'm minding my own business, and I get an email, and I'm like, why do I know this name? And it's a long email, and thank you. This is so and so. I was in your digital media class, so one period, and in that period, I have a curriculum that I created, but I also try and throw in the kitchen sink, because I want my students to learn as much that's in here, to get it out to them, so that they can make, build, design, conjure, come up with all these, like, put as much in their toolboxes as they can, right? In their mental toolboxes. So it was the first year we got actually the cricket, which I have actually on the floor back there, the mess. And I showed them this little device, and then I taught the students how to make the artwork. So there's a lot of people out there, they got the machine, they don't know how to make the artwork. So everything was an in to making money. Look, there's people out there that need this service. You know how to make the artwork, you could be making the money, right? You could sell this little file, $5 while you're sleeping. You put it up on their website, be collecting the money all night long. So little did I know that a few of them were listening, and I got the email, and what she did, she went home, she taught her mom, who was unemployed, I believe. But now her mum supporting her family, people on Etsy are going to her to get all this stuff done. And now she's a supplier to Etsy sellers. So, just incredible. That one brought a tear to my eye because she had the least of my time, you know, but it had the biggest effect. So I just that was a very cool one this year. So that's going in my documentation log.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's terrific.
yeah,
Should.
brilliant.
I mean, that's the whole point, right? I
Yeah.
mean, that's what we kind of all hope for
Yeah.
in the education world. is hope
I
to get
saw your
through.
voice crack a little bit
Yeah.
there.
Your
That
story was
emotionally
so-
touched you.
It did.
Dave.
Maybe
I
it's
also
the
think
headache
that that there can be ironically something self-serving about this. Like I've done some nice things in life, and I've done some pretty crappy things. You know, I really have.
Let's hear about 'em.
That's on another show.
That is definitely
That's on
another
our
show.
paid forum.
But I think you're actually doing yourself a favor when you behave in these kind of selfless ways, because down the road when you're reflecting and you're doing a self-assessment, you need that bank account of
Yeah.
things that you've done that have been decent, because you also remember the things that you've done that you
Yeah.
are ashamed of.
That haunt you,
Yeah.
right? That haunt
Right.
you.
And then
a bit
you've
like
gotta kinda-
Scrooge undoing his
Yeah,
chains.
Right. You've got to find some kind of balance for that, because rather than beating yourself up as when you realize all the selfish things that you've done, all the unkind things that you've done, you know, and you've got to have something to lean on and to say, well, I've done some decent things too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
And the funny
Counterbalance.
thing is, throughout all of this, there are individuals, and I'll speak for myself only, but there are individuals that only know me as that, I'll use a family friendly word, that moron, that idiot that I used to be. You
Right.
know, not to say that I still cannot be that.
Right. Right.
But wow, am I a different person now? You know, so yeah, it is interesting, and it's very, and I sometimes do wonder, am I doing this because I used to be that other person?
That's fine.
Am I
don't-
doing
don't-
this
yeah, I don't
because of
think
that?
there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah.
You're trying to even the things up a little bit.
I'm definitely doing. I'm definitely a huge chunk of this was when I told Alim initially, you know, why I was doing all of this, and one of the, you know, the missteps with how I handled my situation with one of my children, or actually arguably both, you know, just wishing that I did better, did different. Retrospect is obviously it's always 2020 when you look back, you can see what you did, but when you're a different person, so it does, you know, I am grateful that for a lot of things, but to be able to look back and see your growth. My feet are squirming underneath the table. They're going, oh, wrap this up. Let's get out. But yeah, you know, it's just that it is, like you said, it makes me a little bit humbled to see where I've come from and who I am now. Because when I was a teenager and I was big and I was burly and I, you know, muscly and all that stuff, the attitude came with it as well.
With trouble, maybe.
Yeah, not so much, but I wouldn't back down. And
Okay.
sometimes, you know, I told my own students, I said, look, I've been bullied, and I've been the bullier. You know, I've been the one that's been the bully, but not to a point where I went out of my way. I just, looking back, you go, oh, that wasn't the right thing to do.
Right.
You were a jerk back then.
Right.
You know, so yeah, grateful for that I've changed.
Alima, do you find in your role as counselor that you find that you get more gratitude from that? Or do you see, because you get a more personal touch, right? Do you feel like it's more appreciated? Because I know how you operate, so I feel like they should be like, oh, thank you so much, because you are genuine and you don't come across as just someone who's like, okay, get out of my office kind of thing. You're going to take in everybody and kind of give them that warm feeling. So do you feel, are they expressing that level of gratitude, or is it what they expect?
No, it's interesting because my kids, I find that it's expected because that's how I've been and that's what they know.
Right.
But when I get a kid from another counselor who maybe they haven't had the same experience, I find that they're overly grateful because they're like, my previous experience with my other counselor wasn't like that.
Right.
I had a senior in today, and again, she's about to graduate, and she came from the country like right before she started high school, and she's still struggling with the language and her family. She just talked about like them not even having shoes like in her country and what that
Wow.
was like, and her wanting to go to school to be able to help them and to send them shoes. Like that is literally what she's thinking about,
Yeah.
making money to try and help them. And as I'm just helping her with her college application, just really quickly, like 10-20 minutes, and I'm like, you can come back if you need anything. She was like, thank you. And I'm like, this is literally my job. She's like, no, 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 no. I met with my counselor and it didn't go down this way the first
Yeah.
time. So again, I find that my kids, they expect it of me because that's
Right.
how I operate. But I do see that when I meet with other people's kids, it's a little bit different.
I'll tell
Yeah,
you.
that's a good point.
I'll tell you. I actually did witness probably the most grateful scenario that I've witnessed in quite a while. Fernando, who was on quite a bit last week in the chat, he has a student that used to be one of my sophomore students, and she swings by the classroom most days. Well, Fernando sent this student to see the advertising art instructor, Mr. Paddy, and who's a phenomenal artist. And he's so good. He's an artiste. She got, some coloring pencils, some paint, some brushes, some canvases, homework, that type of stuff. But she was kind of guided, and she just come back. She was like, she was almost speechless. She was grateful for me just for being there sophomore year, and each day she kind of pops in, and for Cologne for pointing her in another direction. So that was, it's like it caught both of us off guard, because it was one of those situations. Oh yeah, of course. It's just such an outpouring of like love and appreciation, because you could tell this is her thing. This is what she wants to do.
Right.
So anyway.
But it's funny because, as Lima was talking, about the idea of almost having people expect certain things of you, it makes you think of one of the relationships most of, people have with their parents, right? And how there's a lot of that, like, lack of communication, especially in terms of gratitude. And one of the students wrote this, and I think it applies here. One time my mom had a business trip. She begged me to watch my brother because she knew I had plans. I said to her, I was like, Mom, of course I'll watch Angel. That's definitely more important than hanging out with my friends. She expressed so much gratitude towards me. It almost made me feel like she thinks I wouldn't do that for her. So when she came home, we had a conversation, and I said to her, Mom, don't ever beg me to watch Angel. You should not even have to ask, because of course I will watch him.
Oh.
And it's one of those things where, again, that's a very mature thing for the student to sit, or the child to sit down with the parent. But it is one of those things where, when you behave in a certain way, and this goes for how we are towards others and how others are towards us, and you establish yourself as a dependable, person,
Yeah.
it doesn't mean we still don't like to hear a sense of appreciation, right? I think that all of us have a very similar, like, passion. We're very hardworking. We're always dependable, right? People can depend on us. And I think what happens with that is that when you don't get the appreciation, and people will know this, it's harder to keep getting up and doing the work, right?
Yeah.
And I do this a lot with my students. I'll say, do your acts of kindness. And I go, 2 of them could be for people, one has to be for a stranger. And most of the time, the story they want to tell is the one for the stranger, because a lot of times they come back and they go, I made dinner for my family. They complained. I never want to make food for them again.
Yeah.
Right. It's one of those things where it's like, if you don't get, and it's so hard to do, because you really have to be a good person and be nice and please and thank you, regardless of what they're going to respond with, right? We can't go in with the expectation of, I'm doing this so that you will say thank you.
Yeah.
Because if you're doing that, you're setting yourself up for a disaster, right? Like, especially as a teacher, I give you my everything every day, and you just leave the class, and it's like, you could care less what I just did for 40 minutes.
Right.
And again, I'm going to put that I'm going to try it again tomorrow. And the next day, and after a while, you're just like, man, I am trying.
It really is.
And it just, every once in a while, like you said, those little notes or those little emails, something where someone's like, I appreciate what you're doing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it could be just one person out of all the students you have, and it's just like that energy boost, like you're like Mario getting to be big Mario
Brings
again.
you
You're
back to
like,
life. It
I
brings
like
you
that.
back to life,
you're just
yeah.
like,
He did running whole thing.
yeah, and I'm like, I'm back, baby. Let's
Yeah.
do it. Like
Yeah.
that just re-energized me for a
Yeah.
month, maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And sometimes you go through those lulls where you're like, oh man, I'm going through something that's going to be hard for them to learn, and this is going to be a tough unit or a tough book, and there's not going to be a lot of smiling faces with these assignments.
Yeah.
But they need it, and I'm trying my best, and then you just like, I got to get to something, and they're going to be like, thanks.
Yeah,
'Cause you need it.
as a teacher to keep on, or working as a counselor or in the success office, but from my point of view, just to keep on giving that, not 100%, but you just keep on giving it your all, whatever that is that particular day. And when you have students leave the classroom and they all say nothing, or 90% say nothing. I got some special students. So we've just started a new thing where at 12:03, 12:05, my seniors leave for lunch every single day. Two or three students, the same students, say, "Bye, Mr. Jones. See you in a bit." And that makes it all good. And they're always the last ones to leave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're always the last
Yeah.
one, just to make sure they get to say it, whatever. And I kind of see them hanging back and I just appreciate that. And it makes the rest of my day just bearable, because you've had that appreciation shown to you. And, I say,
A
enjoy
lot of
lunch.
times when we're talking about students, I hear you guys talk about the students. I sometimes then apply it to the adults, and I have to. Well, you were talking just now. I thought to myself, well, how much do we see that amongst? It's not just the teenagers. How much do we see that amongst the other adults?
Yeah.
How many times? And let's not get fired.
Yeah.
All right, but how many times as an employee are you thinking, "Come here every day. I'm on time every day. I do my stuff every day. I got my stuff in on time every day." It just. You have those runs where you think, anybody notices?
Yeah. Does anyone care?
Does anybody know? I mean, it's not a bunch of teenagers walking out of the room. It's adults who I would think should know better and say, "Hey, a little acknowledgement. Nice job. I wish I could give you more money, but I like to at least say, great job, or we know that you're coming through for us." And you know what I mean?
I don't know if I should mention anything right now.
Okay, yeah.
Well, we're up against it too.
Do you,
Yeah, how
yeah.
about those Mets?
Well,
Yeah.
Well,
We're there.
I'm really appreciative right now, because something special happened this year, and I'm not voted, right, anything special yet, but I actually got an email saying you've been nominated for Educator of the Year.
Nice. I'm
So-
not surprised at all.
No, thank you, but that made. Again, very grateful. I was like, no way. I stopped Garcia. I stopped Garcia in the hallway. I'm like, dude, guess what happened? He's like, what? I got nominated. And he said, well, we'll go through the voting process, but well done. He's like, and he gave us like two fist pumps, but I walked
your
away.
speech already
I
written?
walked away like a little teenager. It was funny, but I got a laugh. But yeah, brilliant. I've been secretly, as much as you can try, right? Just put your best foot forward every year. But
Right.
Anyway, just to be acknowledged.
That's it though. And I think it goes back to just, and it doesn't have to be in a teaching profession. It could be anything, and that could be anyone. Like Dan said, it's not directed at kids or teenagers or students. It's just acknowledge people and say thank you, whether it's somebody giving you an
Right.
Uber ride, somebody bringing your food, it could be anything.
Yeah.
Just simply say thank you, please. Like those are things that it's almost like a lost art form.
Yeah.
But just never think that it's not worth it.
Yeah.
Like always make sure, I would just say,
Go the extra
to
mile.
show a sense of gratitude and be polite to people, because again, you don't know what that person's going through and how powerful and that could be for them.
Look, so it's 9:09. Let's I know that next Thursday we got Thanksgiving, right? So we're not going to we're going to have turkey around the table.
Yeah.
No, so we're going to be with our families and not with this little family. So everyone have a wonderful Thanksgiving if you're in the States and you celebrate here. England, if you're watching, get with it. Thanksgiving, got to do it. It's not,
Is one of those viewers England?
yeah, it
Were
is.
they calling earlier?
All of them.
It's pretty late there, isn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, that that's the beauty about the show. We do get binge watchers, and I know a few of my family members do watch. So yeah, thank you for watching. Thank you for
excellent.
a bit
Thanks,
quiet
guys.
today in the old chat, but that's good. We appreciate you anyway. See
Yeah.
you.
Gratitude.
That's it. All right.
Till then.
See you in 2 weeks.
All right.
See you, everyone. Bye bye.